Welcome to another episode of The Latest with Maya. Today, I am so excited to have a conversation with actor Peter Jacobson. Peter has been in just about everything, including the shows House and Colony, and he has also appeared in several of my favorite shows, including Will and Grace, Perception, Scrubs, Royal Pains, and New Amsterdam. Most recently, you can see him in The Girls on the Bus on Max, which I loved. Thank you so much for being on my show. I'm so excited to be talking with you.
Thank you very much, Maya. It's totally my pleasure, and I'm honored that you asked me and that you've that you like some of the shows I've been on. You were going way back there, so
Yeah.
I'm surprised you don't you. I'm surprised you're old enough to remember some of those shows.
Well, not all of some of them I didn't actually watch when they were on, but
Yes.
started watching several years ago, and they I watched several years ago, and they have become my favorites.
Yeah,
So
I forget that says what kind of a dinosaur I am, and that I sometimes forget. Even with House, I get kids coming up to me saying that they love House, and I'm like, wait a minute, that was a long time ago. But then, oh yes, it's a different world. You can watch anything, anytime. So it says
yeah.
more about how old I am.
Um, so my first question for you is what in your life brings you the most joy?
Oh wow, that's a wonderful, deep question. I assumed it would be what I was waiting for you to say. What character, what script, and understandably, you've asked a much deeper question. There are a lot of things, but it's hard for me to avoid the fact that working on a great project with great writers and a great role and something that I feel really connected to. That's what I've trained my whole life for. Worked my whole life on, and work is as an actor, a character actor, you work in chunks of time, and there are a lot of chunks that are large chunks, unfortunately, where you're not working. So I never stop really, really relishing and loving and feeling the full joy of just being at work. Especially if it's a part that I really love and it's with people I love. The older I get, the more I really find the joy in working with people who I care about, even if it's, close friends. Used to be when I was younger, you're just thrilled to be working, and I still am, but the details are more important now. I want to be around people that I know and love, and as I've been around for a while, I've gotten the opportunity to work with people that I've worked with before and love, and so that's like joy on top of joy for me.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Yeah. Is there something from your childhood that you often find yourself nostalgic for?
um, God, these questions they're so deep. Um, well, I mean, my younger adulthood of being, being excited about the inconsistencies of the work that I chose when I was, I mean, that's really not my childhood, so I'll get to that, but I'll just say that as an actor starting out in my, late teens and early 20s, I love the unpredictability of it. I don't anymore because I just have different responsibilities and life is different now in middle age. But that's sort of the freshness and excitement of what, I don't know what my next job is. And that's part of the sort of the sexiness of this, this life of, wow, it could be anything. It could be any group of people. You could hand me a page of, of revisions on a script and say, go ahead and shoot that right now. And I like the sort of adventure of that. That's a little more precarious for me now. I'm a little bit more,
Yeah.
a little less into the unpredictability. The childhood, I mean, I just have such fond memories of growing up in Chicago and um, just being around big groups of kids on my block. We had a huge, just a like a a huge league of kids from 10 years younger to 5 years older than me, and we created games, and we all had big wheels, and we're all around the block all day long, and
Yeah.
just being lost in that, and then, oh yeah, it's dinner time. Um,
Yeah.
I miss that.
Yeah.
Life is a little lonelier, a
Mm,
little more separated, but
yeah.
that's appropriate, I think.
Yeah. Um, what is something people are always surprised to learn about you?
That I'm not kind of a jerk. Because most of my work, a lot of my characters, at least the last 10 years or so, somehow I get cast as sort of not outright, mean, bad people. So, you tend to get cast with by sort of, who you are and the kind of energy you give off. And my roles, strangely, are always sort of like snarky and sarcastic. And I certainly can be sarcastic.
Yeah.
But a lot of times people sort of say, "Oh, wait, you're kind of a jerk in a lot of your parts, and you're not in real life." I can be, but I
Yeah.
think I'm not. Or maybe I'm just, yeah, yeah. That's it.
Um, yeah. If you could eliminate one thing from your daily schedule, what would it be and why?
Wow. Um, like I eliminate, as an actor, if you're not working, there's not a lot to eliminate because a lot, you
Yeah.
sort of live in a state of elimination. There's,
Yeah.
there's not much going on. Um, I'm not burdened with a pet. I don't have to walk a dog, so I wouldn't eliminate that. Uh, I guess mine is more psychological. I would eliminate the chunks of time in which I stress about, I find myself off in my brain about what's the next job going to be and what are the worries that I have. I'm a
Yeah.
pretty regular worrier. So
Yeah.
if I could eliminate those moments, that might mean that I'd eliminate the whole day.
Yeah.
But no, I think I find myself in pockets of time, if I'm not reading or exercising or working on a project, I can wander into the sort of the bad zone of the head, and I would eliminate
Yeah.
that rigorously if I
Yeah.
could.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a warrior too.
Are you? Yeah.
Yeah, so I definitely understand that. I always like have to have some sort of noise on, like music or like
Yeah.
the TV on, so I don't get like, so I don't spiral.
Yeah, spiral's a great word. I know what you mean, and it's amazing how the mind works. And I just even recently I've sort of re-energized myself into reading, and so that when I can feel when the spiral's starting, and I'm just like, oh, going to the book, gonna
Yeah,
read this book about about Steve Jobs, which was a book I just finished, and it takes me elsewhere, and that's good. It's a
yeah,
good habit.
yeah, definitely. Um, so who is one person in your life who has had a big impact on how you choose to live?
It's prepared for such depth and I'm not surprised, I guess. Um, I choose to live. Uh, well, there have been mentors in my life I've had over the years. There was when I was at camp, I was at camp as a kid. I went to overnight camp, and there was a guy there who was sort of a head counselor, and he was the first sort of guru is a terrible word, but he was just somebody who was beyond in his years and had had training. This was like the 70s. So this stuff wasn't sort of front and center. He had had training in sort of, I guess what we would call now mindfulness or just, but beyond that, he was really somebody who had really worked with people on how powerful the mind can be, and that and you can really sort of choose to do what you want, and if you rearrange your thoughts in certain ways and really set your mind to something, and sort of the magic of that. And this guy's name was Steve, and I was 12 years old and spent a lot of time sort of talking to him about that and thinking about that, and that was a short period of time in my life, but I've been in touch with him over the years, maybe even decades apart. He's somebody who feels like almost like a wizard to me, and somebody who I continually come back to. Hey, what I choose to do and how I do it is really all up to me, and that the crazy of the world is I'm not a victim to what's happening in the world, that I can choose what I want, even from how I approach this soccer game in the seventh grade, which is when I was learning, this stuff, to how I approach my latest audition or how I just feel about my life. There are creative people that I've sort of held as beacons of, the kind of career I would want, or somebody like Robert Duvall, who's I think the greatest film actor of all time. Somebody who seems so effortless in his work, and yet there's so much going on. I can say he seems so effortless in his work because I had a chance to work with him for a bunch of weeks in a movie long ago, and I already was a huge fan, and sort of sit next to him and to see how easy it was for him, and yet how specific, and then to watch what the product was on screen and to see so much going on that I hadn't even detected. Like there was no, I didn't see any work happening.
Yeah.
Um, and so it was like a miracle. I was like, whoa, what are you doing? It's so easy, and what we see on screen is so complex.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Yeah. Do you have any irrational fears?
Rational fears are
Yeah,
did you say rational or irrational? I think I have a lot of
irrational.
irrational fears.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, being on house for a long time, I sort of amplified my irrational fears of, will I be okay physically? I can be a little bit hypochondriacal at times, or get lost in worries about, my health, and and I know that that's irrational until it's rational. Again, the worrying and the
Yeah.
thinking, it's all part of just a pattern of, just something else that I'll grab in to worry about. I would say I have a lot of, I have a lot of fears. I'm worried about when I'm gonna work next. I'm worried about, and that's irrational because I've had a career that has had a steady trajectory. I've always found work. I've been blessed to work as much as I have, but and it sort of connects to what we are talking about before. I'll spend time worrying and being scared of what happens if it all stops. And that is irrational given that I've established myself, and there's a pattern in my life that I should trust. But it's rational also because things change, and I mean, you just
Yeah.
do never know. I think the idea of never knowing and not knowing what's next is haunting to me, as
Yeah.
it is to so many people. We all have
Yeah.
things we're scared of.
Yeah. Yeah, I was talking with someone a while ago about irrational fears, and they were asking me about mine, and I was like, to be perfectly honest, I feel like my brain is just one big irrational fear. So I was like, my brain spirals, so
Yeah,
I
I relate to that. I mean, we've all obviously your experience is yours, and it's very different from mine, and you're what you do, and what you've done with all these interviews. There's a base in there that's from fears that are very real, and stuff that you've gone through that is real time scary in ways that I can't even begin to know. But the generosity of knowing that every human being has their own level of fear, and that it's can be as strong as anything. I think that's important. But I've talked about that a lot. I've had an opportunity to talk to other actors about anxiety in the workplace, and everybody's from a different place and has their own different experience and their own different anxieties, but there's a common thread of, am I okay? Am I liked? Am I doing this right? These are things that actors really have to move through. And I would bet anything that there's not an actor out there that doesn't struggle through that every stage of the career, even the most successful. There's just worry out there. There's anxiety, and everybody has it in their own careers. And I think it's important to talk about that stuff and to
Yeah.
be open about that. Um, I know it helps me to do that. And when
Yeah.
I find myself talking to other people, especially younger actors about it, they seem so eager. They're like, "Oh, wow, that's part of the ball game. Like I'm not alone in the spinning and the spiraling that I do as an
Yeah.
actor." And I'm like, "No, you are not.
Yeah.
In fact, you're very much in the majority, and it's okay, and it makes sense."
Yeah.
And so then you can start to sort of move through it and
Yeah.
maybe find ways of healing those in the moment, or at least,
Yeah.
well, like we said before, for me, picking up a book when my mind spirals. But it's
Yeah.
very specific for actors, and it's always been interesting to me to talk to actors about that.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what three words best describe you?
um, my first one was anxious.
Yeah.
I think there's no, I mean, that's there for me. Anxious. Um, um, I guess I would say aggressive, but not in a physically aggressive way. I'm aggressive in how I do things, how I pursue things. I get commit to something, and I really try hard to do it, and I'll pull out all the stops, and I don't think I let my foot off the gas pedal. So, um, and I don't like to sound, because it's up to somebody else to decide if I'm funny. But so funny or comical, I'm really not saying, oh, I know I'm funny. Well, I say that it describes me because I see the world instinctively through a comical lens. I find myself
Yeah.
either just keeping it to myself or sharing with others, sort of how is that funny? Why is that funny?
Yeah.
That is funny. That's sort of how I perceive things.
Yeah.
So aggressive, anxious, and funny. I don't know what that all adds up to, but
Yeah.
here I am. So
Yeah. I love that. I love those.
do
Yeah.
you have your three? I assume you've got them like that. Do you know, or maybe they probably change every day.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. I always feel kind of awkward saying
No, no,
things
no.
like I don't know. This is how I would like to think of myself.
Right. Well,
I-
that's the thing.
yeah.
What we all think of ourselves a certain way, like but how are we perceived? But that's really the question you're asking: is how do what are the three words that I would use to describe myself? Whether or not others see that, I have no idea.
Yeah. Yeah, I would I mean I would hope it like I like to think it would be like I don't know, kind, generous, caring. Um I hope that's what other people perceive because that's what I try to be. So
I've known you for all of about 18, 22 minutes, and what you just said comes through loud and clear. In fact, then I realized when you said it, I was like, now my anxiety part that I had mentioned before comes up, because I'm like, I didn't even occur to me to say that the kind, generous, the sweet one, that those things that matter more than anything, that didn't occur to me right away. Maybe because I just know that I'm kind. I don't
yeah. Yeah.
know.
No, I think sorry, I just completely lost my train of thought while I was in the middle of the sentence. So now I have no idea where I was going with
All
that.
right, so we'll move on.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, that happens all the time. I'm just talking to someone and in the middle of a sentence, I'm just like, okay, what were you gonna say now? Because I don't know where I was going with that
Okay.
sentence.
All right.
Yeah.
Adds a little thrill to the conversation, which I find enjoyable.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, what genre of movie would your life story be told as?
Um, Dark, sexy noir thriller. No. What genre? I think probably maybe a simple comedy. Um, uh, yeah, like I mean, there's so many different ways I've lived life, and feelings I've had and adventures I've had. I guess in a way it's a comic adventure. I'll go with that. I feel like my life as an actor and just my life in general has been adventurous. I just feel like it's have been surprises and I've been on adventures, and I can't sort of shake that sense of, to me, what's funny, and I love to laugh and I love people who are funny and people who laugh. So I'll say a comic adventure. I don't even know if that's a genre. Like
Well,
a rom-com. It's not a
yeah,
horror film. A
yeah.
comic. Maybe you just inspired me to invent a new one, and then that'll be my next adventure. That I'm now becoming the world's greatest comic adventure film genre producer.
I love that. Yeah,
Yeah.
yes, I think you should create that genre.
Unless it's like it's obviously one, then I just can't think of the films that are already out there. There are adventure movies that have comedy in them, and comic
Yeah,
films that have adventure, but one that's like purposely like this is a comedy adventure.
yeah,
I wonder what that would look like.
yeah. Yeah, I love that. Um, yeah, so what songs always make you sing along whenever you hear them?
Um, I'm always about 15 to 20 years behind my friends in terms of music that they're listening to. So only within the last few years, like I got sick of the Beatles like 5 years ago. Although you never get sick of the Beatles. I find myself singing the music that I like is older music, like stuff that my parents sort of I remember from my childhood. My parents listened to like the Beatles, um, and then I'll find myself then I'm again in earlier years like 70s song like I'll like a good Barry Manilow song will come on and I'll just go nuts. That stuff that brings up memories of my childhood. Um, I also like classical music and it's hard to sing along to, but I will
Yeah.
air violin.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, yeah, for me, I mean, there's so many songs I'll just sing along to. Any Ben Platt song,
Oh yeah, he's
whenever
great.
it comes on. Yeah, my family and I were in the store like a couple days ago, and his song Imagine came on, and I just started singing it. I didn't care that we were
Well,
in.
how loud? You're like full on. You're not just humming it to yourself. You're singing it, right?
I mean, sometimes it's more like quiet and to myself, and then other times when I know I'm alone, it's like full on.
You're out there. But
Yeah,
you will. But I think it's cool when somebody in public will really. I mean, they don't need to drown everybody else out, but watch somebody in public like loving a song.
yeah,
That's great. We all should do that. I see Taylor
yeah.
Swift behind you on the wall.
Oh, yes,
Guessing, are you a Swiftie?
yes, I am.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, my sister and I have whenever we like we'll just go on car like rides together.
Hmm.
She'll just be like driving us around and we'll just be blasting Taylor Swift
Yeah.
um and singing along. Um, so
You and like 3 billion other people that can't seem to
yeah,
stop doing these. It's amazing how in our culture, I just really didn't know who she was. And then last summer, it was like every day I was just seeing these scenes of the world you know, just
yeah,
bowing down and going nuts over Taylor
yeah.
Swift. Now I know, and her stuff is pretty great. See, it's like
Yeah.
I said, I'm stuck in the old ages. I like a great Ella Fitzgerald singing a Cole Porter tune. I'll blast that out myself.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I love a lot of 80s music too. So
I will not sing Duran Duran. I will make sure that I don't. I'm not a
yeah,
my 80s music is you know
yeah,
I'm not too versed in those things. I remember I'm like, ah, I don't like
yeah. Yeah, my mom has raised my sister and I on 80s music, so and like Billy Joel and Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah, oh, that's right. Yeah,
Yeah,
I will sing a Bruce song. I love Bruce.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, so I am pop culture obsessed, and if you can't tell,
Yeah.
yeah,
And as I've already explained, I'm pop culture ignorant, so I hope we still have something to talk about. I think you didn't know that about me before you
yeah.
asked me to come on your show.
Yeah. Um, well, I go in stages of shows that I cannot stop watching.
Mhm.
Is there a show that you are currently obsessed with?
Um, I have recently discovered Top Chef. I don't really cook. I mean, I can't even say really cook. I don't cook. It's not something that I'm aware of. In fact, my instinct on cooking shows, when I was on House, I somehow, this is years ago, I somehow wound up being a guest through a publicist, a guest on Iron Chef, which meant that it was just me and two other judges, like really, like, having to sort of on the fly and somewhat intelligently, or in terms of how the other judges did it, very intelligently, eat food and talk about it and judge it. And I just, it was such a stressful, horrifying experience for me because I'm so ignorant
Yeah.
about food, and it was a battle egg, and I'm not a big egg fan, so I was talking about food that I didn't like anyway, and it really sort of like traumatized me for cooking shows. But suddenly in the last year, I've discovered Top Chef, and I'm watching season after season, and I just find it thrilling, moving. I also love this British show called not Slow Horses. Yes, it is Slow Horses. I keep wanting to say Fresh Horses, which if you're really a pop culture person, you'll remember. You're a little young, but that was a Molly Ringwald movie from the 80s. Fresh Horses. This is Slow Horses. It's an English drama with Gary Oldman, who is also one of my favorite actors of all time, about sort of the loser side of the British spy agency. And I am obsessed with it and cannot wait for it to come back on.
Oh, cool.
And I'm looking forward to House of the Dragon season 2. I love the first one. And the creator of that was the creator of Colony, the show that I did, and I just love him and think his stuff is great. And I'm really thrilled for his success. So it's fun to watch that.
Well, that's so cool.
What
Yeah.
about you? What's your favorite show? What can't you get enough of right
Um, well, right now I just finished watching the mini series Eric on Netflix.
now? No, I don't know what that is.
It's with Benedict Cumberbatch.
Oh my God, he's
Um,
fabulous.
yeah, and that one is really good. It's really it's dark, so it was like I had to watch it slowly. Um, but
Meaning between episodes, you took a while to process between episodes, or you
yeah,
put the TV on slow time so they spoke slowly.
no, I took
Okay, I didn't know
time,
you could do
but
that.
yeah, I took time between
I
episodes.
get it. I get it.
Um, yeah, and then I've just been um rewatching just one of my comfort shows, which is White Collar.
Oh
Um
yeah.
that has since it came back on Netflix, it's just been on nonstop. So
It's amazing to me what's available. Basically everything. It's
yeah,
pretty cool. It's pretty
yeah.
cool.
Yeah, I was very happy when Royal Pains also came back on
Yeah,
Netflix. So that
great.
one, that and White Collar have been on repeat.
Yeah, Royal Pains was great.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, my best friend always like jokes with me that I call everything like my favorite show or my favorite movie. And so I really I was like, okay, I should narrow it down now to tell him these are my favorites. And so White Collar and Royal Pains made the list.
I say don't back down. I think anything and everything can be your favorite. There's so much out there. There's no need to be
Yeah.
discerning. Don't let others make you more discerning than you need to be. It's great
Yeah.
to have as much love as you can for as many things,
Yeah, definitely.
I think. Don't be
Thank
shy.
you. Yeah. Yeah. Um, what is your proudest accomplishment so far?
Um, I don't know, I guess getting to the place where I can say I've got a career that I can support myself, and I even though, as I've said before, there's always anxiety around it and what's next, and I can spiral into worry about the next job. When I really breathe and think about it, and I'm fair to myself, I say, wow, been at it 30 years, and I've worked real hard, and I've had great adventures, and um, I'm I'm an actor. I'm an actor, and sometimes in demand, and but certainly there's been a consistency of work, and I've been able to work with some terrific people, and again support myself, and and had the chance to just do a lot of really thrilling projects. So that's an achievement, I think, for myself.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. Um, so, do you have a favorite or like a go-to comfort show or movie?
Um, Yeah, my Tootsie, again, I'm just aging. Basically, I'm here with you to just to say that I'm old. That's that's an early '80s movie, and I think the greatest comedy ever made. And I'm a Dustin Hoffman fan, and Bill Murray, and there's not a frame that's not. It's a perfect film, and I mean, there are several movies that when they come on or I see them, I'm like, oh, I got to watch it. The Godfather. These are movies that, again, every frame seems perfect. But Tootsie is probably the one that just sort of, well, always, I just, it's like I'm watching it for the first time every time, even though I literally could recite the whole film. I just love it. It's just great.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. I haven't seen that movie, but I know which
Oh,
one you're talking about.
okay. All right. What did you have? Do you have one? Am I allowed to throw those questions back at you?
Yeah.
I'm very
Yeah,
curious.
I I feel like I have a whole yeah list of like ones I just rotate between.
Yeah,
So
that's
show
good.
yeah, so shows right now it's been all White Collar and
Right,
Royal Canes.
right.
Because those are two that just like can completely shut off my brain,
Yeah.
which I need at times.
Right, right, as we've discussed.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And then movies, definitely Shazam.
Oh,
Um, and then there's a rom-com called Home Again with Reese Witherspoon I'm obsessed with those both of those movies. And then a Netflix movie called The Prom, which is a musical.
oh, I saw that. I saw that. That was really fun. I was like,
Yeah,
wow, they really made this movie, didn't they? They just
yeah,
went, it was very campy, and
yeah.
um, was Zach Levi, is he the one from Shazam?
Yes,
Yes, I
yeah,
saw that you had a chance to interview him. That
yes.
was exciting.
Did. Yeah, it was. I actually had no idea that was gonna happen.
Really?
Um, yeah, it was another person I had interviewed. We became friends, and he found out or how obsessed I am with Shazam and how much I love that movie. And so then he reached out to Zachary Levi and then set it up with my mom and the studio.
Great.
And so,
That's great. That's great. Yeah,
yeah,
he's quite a nice guy. He's
yeah,
quite a good guy.
yes,
He's
yeah,
one of those that's just a great
yeah,
guy.
yeah, definitely.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. Um,
Oh, wait,
so,
I'm gonna close it. Wait, hold on one second. I decided to leave.
yeah,
Nope, I just want to close it up. Okay.
yeah. Um,
I just had it. You know what? Enough. It was too
yeah,
stressful. I'm out.
yeah. Okay, fair enough. Um, yeah, I get that sometimes when things are too stressful for me, I just walk away. I'm like, I'm done with this for right now, so
Sometimes it's just the only option.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
But I'm back. I did it. I got too stressed. I walked in, and I thought, no, I'm back.
yeah.
She's too lovely and too wonderful, and this is too nice. So
Oh, thank you. Well, thank you for coming back.
my, it's my
Yeah.
pleasure. It was quite great. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm ready. I'm ready. Round two.
Okay. Yeah, I just have one more question for you.
Okay.
So I love inspiring and motivational quotes. And this week, my favorite quote is, or the one that is inspiring me is, "Don't believe everything you think." Um,
Ooh, that's a good
and yeah,
one.
yeah,
On many, many levels.
yes, definitely. Yeah. Is there a quote that inspires you?
Um, that changes in life. There are different periods of my life when certain things do, certain authors, certain things I've read or quotes. One that I come back to that actually always has resonance, and right now, particularly, and it's from a long time ago in my life that I learned it. Argue for your limitations and they're yours. Um, Again, that's for people like us who
Yeah.
can spiral and spend time in the negative or the anxious. It's if I give myself permission, it's like I'm giving myself permission to be as anxious or to be as negative or doubtful. Um, to it empowers me because it's saying, well, I'm sure those things that scare me or that I feel blocked by or that I can't do or that are making me anxious. Those are choices, and it's always a choice. Um, I don't mean to be naive that life is hard and there are things that happen and things that you cannot control and that are really hard. But in terms of the mental game, limitations, and I would say even that quote extends to things, to a lot of it can extend to things physical as well. But for me, it's the mental limitations of, well, if I'm going to think of myself, if I'm going to limit myself mentally, or if I'm going to, you know, be negative here or think I can't, then yeah, Peter, look, that you're thinking that you're invested in limiting yourself. That's sort of, if I see it, take a step back and see that I'm actually arguing myself for that limitation, well, then, okay, I got it. But then the flip side is, of course, I can argue that I don't have that limitation.
Yeah.
Then the world's your oyster, as they
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
yeah. Write it down.
Yes, I will actually.
Okay.
So thank you. I love that.
Okay.
Yeah. Um, well, that was my final question for you.
Okay.
I have just had the best time talking with you.
Thank
Um,
you.
I so appreciate your taking the time.
Well, really, it's you making the time for me. I appreciate being in your wheelhouse, that you were that there was that I've been out there enough that you appreciated my work and wanted to bring me in and just talk like people, and I love what you do. You are an amazing woman, and so it's really my honor and pleasure to be here, to be brought in by you, and thank you. So
Thank you. That means a lot. Thank you. Um, and yeah, I hope you have a great rest of your day.
you too, you too. We'll keep the spiraling to a minimum, both of us.
Yes,
A good
yes,
non-spiral day. How about that?
yes, definitely.
Thank you.
Thank you. And that's a wrap on today's edition of The Latest with Maya.